All right, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I got my buddy Joe Theriault, who is under the radar. He's only comes on a few podcasts every year. And I was able to twist his arm a couple weeks ago and say, hey, you got to come on my show, man. So he was happy to join. So, Joe, man, welcome to the Real Estate Investing Fast Track.
Happy to be here, man. We've worked together over the years, so happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, you got a great story. I heard you on another podcast, a mutual friend of ours, and I said, man, I got to get this guy on my show. So for the listeners who didn't hear that episode, give us your backstory before you got into real estate, because you got a serious business now up in the Northeast. What were you doing beforehand? And then, let's hear your background.
Like it depends how real you want me to get, right? Like
Get as real
what
as
the
you can, man. This is
backstory
two
is,
Northeast
right?
guys going at it.
Basically the short to bring me up to like 20 years old, was I remember I got out of school and I got into a bad car wreck when I was like 17, 18. And I dropped out of college. Like it wasn't like I didn't make a lot of good life decisions at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out to the mailbox and my dad, like, it's like you could buy a multifamily building and live in one unit. And I was like, wait a minute, I can get the fuck out of my parents' house and I can go like smoke as much weed as I want and drink and potty and like live in a building. Like, what the fuck?
And own it?
And own it? Like, what is this? So that took me to be about 21 before I did it. So I'm 45 now, figure the math on that. Bought that first building. I was a machinist at the time, bought it. And
What is a machinist if people aren't familiar with that?
yeah, machinists, so guys who make anything out of metal. So if you look
Okay.
around, like most things around you are made out of metal. So you name it, I've made it. I've made guns, I've made tank pots, I've made sailboats pots, I've made oil rig. Any of your oil shit comes from me, machinists. Look at your cell phone, the case that your
Oh,
cell
yeah.
phone is in, that's made by a mold. So a metal maker has to make the mold that's made out of metal so that they can form the plastic to the metal. So people don't know your can is any metal can is made from a mold, right? That right there, made from a mold, right?
Yep.
So manufacturing is really what I was in. I grew up in manufacturing when I was in a machine shop at 10 years old, scraping the chips out of a machine, out of a machine. My uncle owned a machine shop. So I grew up being a chip monkey and cleaning the fuckers out,
Blue
and
collar guy.
dude, blue collar to the bone. And I mean, I got it right here. That's company collar, blue collar. It will never, I'll bleed it till the end.
Love it.
And so that's where I come from there, and bought that first building and fixed it up and refied it. And this would have been 2002, would have been 2000, maybe right before the market took off, before the crash. So I was there. I could have already been retired. I made bad life decisions then. I refied and thought it was a great idea to go keep partying instead of that 30 grand I could have had to go buy a few more apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So that didn't quite happen. I kept partying and decided at 24 to not do that anymore. And I got the DUI, I got all the bad shit that happens. I got sober at 24. Haven't drank in 20 years. Nothing, nothing, like zero.
Not
Still
even a glass of wine.
nothing, dude. No pot, no nothing, you name it. It's stock raving fucking nuts, right? So yeah, I got sober and that ended up me getting married, ended up me being in Germany. And then from Germany, I ended up in Texas because of military. She was military, fucked up, I know. And I was still in Texas before it all crashed in 2007, 6. I
Yeah.
was there.
You were living, I didn't know you lived in Texas. You don't
Yeah,
have a Texas accent.
no,
Neither do
fuck
I.
no, those fuckers couldn't convert me. Yeah, lots of jokes down there with working in a blue collar machine shop, being a Yankee up here.
Yeah, Northeast guy. They're like, who
You
the hell are
find
you?
out about what prejudice is for real. You cross that Mason-Dixon line. I knew for the first time, like I never experienced it. I experienced it, and but nonetheless, we had some good wars when we were down there, and we had a good time. But I was there before it all, and I wanted to do real estate. And I'd already done it. I went to a Russ Whitney thing. Russ
Okay.
Whitney was a big name back then, and My wife at that time did not want me doing anything but what she wanted. And she was pissed that I went to a Russ Whitney thing and paid $1,000 for a seminar, and then they tried to hit you for another 30 grand on your credit
Oh yeah,
card.
good old upsell.
Yeah, he's a fucking guru guy, or was anyway. And then life happened again, and I had my daughter. She was about 4 months old. My wife ended up leaving. Came home. They were gone, and I was in Texas by myself. And I was paying child support and all that jazz. And I left Texas, literally no fucking around, with $500. Loaded my machine shop tools into my truck. I was like, I am going home. And didn't let anyone know I was coming home. I came home and with $500, with no place to go, thought I had a job lined up. The job fell through.
Oh,
I ended up now would have been late 20s. I camped. I had $200 left into my name. Like I was up in
holy
fucking
shit.
Maine somewhere,
Yeah.
living in a campground, living in Walmart parking lots. Like that's how it went down. And I called my cousin because I didn't want my family to know I was home, because I got big family here in the area, and I just like I'm gonna make it on my own. And I called my cousin. I was like, hey, like I'm back, but like keep it under the radar. And she's like, why don't you just come stay here for a week instead of the side of
Campground. Yeah.
no campground, right? And even the campground was running me out of money of my whole $200.
Yeah.
And,
Holy shit.
so I went and stayed there, and I ended up getting a job up in Claremont, New Hampshire, which is East Bumfuck, New Hampshire, basically. And I went there. I lived in my truck for another 2 months, and saved up enough to buy an RV, tow it to a campground, towed that RV to a campground, lived in the fucking RV for about a year in a campground, freezing my balls off, and in the winter. And till I saved enough to buy a few $1,000s. I still had child support and had to pay for them down there, their house. I wasn't
They
divorced.
were in Texas still?
They were in Texas. They promised they were coming up here, and never did. Still to this day. And I saved up a few $1,000s. I was working full time, busting my balls, right? My cousin's
Machinist,
fucking
right?
business. Yep, as a machinist, working as a machinist full time, living in a campground full time, and saved up enough to buy a multifamily. Piece
Oh,
of
so
shit.
your history repeats itself.
History repeats, man. And that was 2007, 2008, when the market tanked. Everyone was like, you're buying it. Everyone, like all the guys that are around me, they've been machinists for 20 years. They got these big 401ks. Like, dude, they're bleeding. They're like panicking, pulling their money out.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to go buy a multifamily? Are you fucking crazy? The market is collapsing. I'm like, I didn't know much about real estate, but I knew that, wait, I can live in this building, not live in a campground, and all I got to do is rent out one of these units to somebody in this fucking town, and it'll be break even, right? And so that was my mindset, and I was like, you guys are fucking nuts. So I bought that one, fixed it up, refinanced it, bought another one, fixed it up, refinanced it. Mind you, I kept working full time, bought another one, fixed it up, refinanced it, opened a yoga studio, and was a
A
yoga
yoga,
teacher.
so you went from
Yeah,
camper to fucking yogi.
yeah,
No shit.
Campa yogi. So I was making assault rifles at the time. I was a yoga studio owner, and I own apartment buildings. It was fucking. It was.
You're like the Dos Equis guy, bro.
Yeah.
World's most interesting man.
It was,
Holy
dude.
fuck.
There's some stories there behind all of that, and
Holy shit.
yeah. So I left. I was done with real estate again, after I got those buildings and refinanced, and I was like in the yoga and all this. I was like, you know what, man? I'm just like, I'm pretty happy. I don't need to be in real estate. Like, I don't need this push. And I met my now wife. She lived 2 hours away, and I was like, either I leave this whatever I'm doing and I go for it. It was like this weird things. I hated landlording, and so I was like, I either leave, and I had some coaching at the time, not real estate coaching, but coaching, and she was like really pushing me. And so I closed the yoga studio, left my job, sold my buildings. It gave me, I had 30 grand to make it. And
After everything was said and done, you had 30,000.
everything all said and done. I had 30 grand. All that time, all those years, it took me about 7 years of being up in Claremont to get that basic, bust my balls, work full time, I was running the machine shop at the time, and yoga studio owner and teaching and whatever, 4 buildings. So I was running. And 30 grand, I said, I'm either gonna go make it. And I started hanging some fucking bandit signs down
What
here.
year is this now?
And it would have been 14, I think. Yeah,
Oh, so
14.
not that long ago. Fucking
No,
8 years ago.
14, yeah. And hung some bandit signs. And dude, I was down to my last 2 grand. I was almost back. I was hunting for part-time jobs. And I was like, I'm going back. I got no choice. I'm out of money. And I was living with my now wife. I moved down, but I was
Where
like,
did you now you moved back down to southern New Hampshire in the Manchester area?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so I moved down with her, but I still, me being me and I'm not gonna live off my wife and just fucking mooch. I'm not my style, right? So I was like, man, I'm running out of dough. Like this ain't working. And I had been working this fucking lead for a while, and this lady was like weird, but she lived up the street from my family in in Lowell, Mass, and
I know
right
the area.
where what's the fucking boxer's name from there? Come on, the fighter movie there. What's his name? Anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
They made the movie out of him.
Yes. Now anyway, I should be. They're gonna shoot me. Anyone from Lowell fucking listen to this. I'm gonna be fucking shot that I can't remember his name. Anyway, the Mickey Wood. So the I was here and out of dough working this lead in Lowell, and I knew it was a deal, and I couldn't get anybody on it. And I met my now past business partner till 2 days ago. And I called them and I was like, man, dude, I know this is a deal. And it wasn't there. And all of a sudden this lady calls me. She'd been like just weird, wouldn't give me a phone number, called me blocked months ago. So it was like a just weird situation. She calls, she's like, I built all kinds of rapport over the few months and gone out there with an attorney. Like I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And dude, just
trying to
like
scrap
trying to
around.
hustle, dude, scraping, calls me and she just trusted me. And she's like, I'm getting on a plane in Germany in 2 days. You can either buy my house at this number or I'm going to list it. I called my ex-business partner and said, hey, there's a deal. And he's like, I was like, what do I do? And he's like, Joe, I'll loan you the money. And I'm like, fuck no, man. Like I'm down to like 2 grand. I don't like, I've rehabbed apartments and shit. I'm not gonna rehab this house in Lowell on
The single family house in Lowell, Mass.
yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, and he didn't do shit in Mass, but I knew everybody in Mass. And he's like, how about this? I'll buy it. We'll split the proceeds and we'll rehab it and you just GC it. I said, okay, fine. And we bought it, and it turned out when we bought it, the neighbor, her daughter, had been looking for a house in that neighborhood, and her real estate agent searched us, and put in a deal with us and said, you do XYZ to the house, and we'll buy it off of you for this much. So it gave me enough to keep going. So I think we made like 80 grand on that first deal.
Oh my God, your first deal. So you split it 40 and 40.
So it was enough. I mean, dude, I was a machinist making 50 grand. So figure what I can make stretch on 40 grand. I was like, fuck, So
Holy shit, dude.
So and then
that's how you got in the game. So you were like, dude, I'm glad we spent a lot of time going into your story because I knew you had a unique experience. I didn't hear it to this detail until now.
Yeah, no, right. I don't usually go there.
You're like all over the fuck. You're in Texas and I had a yoga studio in like the middle of New Hampshire. If people aren't familiar, there's a whole lot of fucking nothing there. Once you're out of the Manchester area, it's like nothing. You're up there doing apartments. You end up getting this. When that's the thing, I love the point you made with using the story with that lady. You kept following up like a fucking savage.
Yeah.
And that follow-up made you 40,000 to start your business, right? Back in 2014, 2015. Yeah. So fuck, man. That might be the most epic intro to real estate story I've ever heard.
I don't usually go there, man. There's some other details that would really spice that shit up, but I think it can bring super high end guys probably don't give a shit, but I think some people need to hear that you actually need to bust your balls and you need to work. I still
Yeah, man.
do. I'm in my office now, and I still busting my balls and still pulling my hair out, and
It's the same thing. It's funny. I say this to people all the time. Like, once you start doing a lot of deals, you just have different fucking problems.
right.
It's like not like they ever go away. You're just dealing with
Oh,
more bullshit and you got bigger money problems, but they're different money
that's
problems.
it.
It's a
That's
totally
it.
different dynamic.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Fucking A. So
100%.
let's forward to now where you're at now. We
Yeah.
spent a real good time about, how you got to where you're at. So give everyone, because you're a serious fucking big dog up in that Northeast, in the New England area. So like, what does your business look like today? IPS Cash. I know you guys. I've worked with you guys. You guys are awesome. So give everyone like a snapshot on what your business looks like today.
Snapshot today is IPS Cash is a typical wholesaling, rehabbing, wholetailing, novation, that whole deal. We do that, right? So there's I want to say 13 of us in that company now, like legit on the books, real company, class A office space, my nice big fancy fucking windows, like all that stuff. All right. Yeah. And so that's what that company looks like. We'll do 100 and something plus deals in that whole space up here, which is pretty solid in New Hampshire, north of Boston market. So that's what that all looks like there. We have been doing the novation game here for a while. Brain damage as well. Again, lots
Yeah,
of
I was gonna
work.
say that's a fucking
Lots of
those
work.
deals are a pain in the ass, dude.
Yep. Lots of things. Everyone, oh yeah, do novate. Yeah, okay. Come talk to me about
Come
the
up to the
process.
Northeast and try innovation. It's a
Yeah,
little different in
dude.
the fucking New York,
Yeah,
Massachusetts area than it is
yeah,
in other Midwest
yeah,
states.
yeah. With attorneys are involved in
Oh,
everything. Yeah. So we would do that. There's I just bought out the business partner on Friday, which is a
oh,
big deal. The partner that funded that first deal stayed with me the whole time, super loyal, and to a T, to a downfall. So we parted ways, bought him out on Friday, did the right thing. We're still in talks. He bought a deal off of me a couple weeks ago,
oh, no shit for herself.
outside of for himself, off of the company that he still owned. It was pretty cool. I could probably put together a course on that one. How to sell a deal to your now business partner outside of outside of anyway.
Ex business partner profits by Joe Theriault.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it takes a lot to not tell someone to fuck off when you're from my background, and have to keep it together and professional and attorney. So that was a good thing that I'm proud of. And and we own the typical real estate brokerage as well. There's whatever 8 or 9 agents over there. And I also have my mortgage banking license. So we're able to generate mortgages here in the Northeast. You can't write seller finance terms to people. You get in big trouble with the banking commission, which can come in and seize your assets and seize your bank accounts in like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So what took me a year to get that banking license, and there's serious jail time if you take $1 from the wrong person. Like all those shows you see on TV, I have
Yeah,
to.
like American Greed.
Yeah, lots of like FinCEN documents and all kinds of things. Like it's real. I'm heavily monitored, but I'm hoping that we can start to grow that as well. So that's kind of what's going on.
You covered a lot there. So you said 130 deals in the Northeast, and this is
Yep.
where the rubber's going to meet the road on the show because a lot of people, we have a lot of mutual friends. We're in masterminds, some of the big masterminds. And listen, every market has got its challenges, but I tell people all the time, the Northeast is like no other fucking place because you have the attitude of the seller, which is number one. You have the
Yep.
attitude of the buyer, which is
Yep.
number two. And then you got these wonderful humans called attorneys, and they
Yep.
facilitate most of the deals in Mass, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. So when a lot of people say they got 45 houses under contract, I commend them. I respect them. But if you took that number and you went up into Joe and I's market, it'd be probably chopped in fucking half because of
I'd be
all the
willing to bet.
complexity,
Yeah, I'd be
right?
willing to bet. Oh, for sure. I know if I stepped into another market, if I had my processes straight and whatnot, that We could push the needle pretty easy, just based on the complexity and processes that we have to have in place to be able to. I mean, because the same thing. We've been here forever. We've been here since the fucking literally. My mother's maiden name is Peabody. They've been here since the fucking Mayflower. So these attorneys have been here since the fucking Mayflower. Everybody's cynical fucks, right? Like buyers suck. They think they know it all.
Yep.
Sellers think they know it all. I mean,
They're
I know
smart.
that.
I mean, they're air quotes. They're usually a little wealthier than the people in the Midwest because of the values of our homes.
Correct,
You know?
right? So, I mean, today we're looking at additional sales training for the team, right? That's my big rock for 2023 that we have for the first quarter is better sales training, right? I got to beat my other competition here, and I need my guys to be even more educated, right? I just can't
100%.
have run-of-the-mill sales guys right now.
No, not in this market too. So you mentioned your other competitions. This is something I found at least in the New York, New Jersey area, and in Connecticut. We do a lot of business in Connecticut too now. I have found it's definitely competitive in my area, which is a little different than yours. But there's not as many people as like a Houston, Texas, or a Tampa, Florida.
No,
I've found a little bit less competition in like the New York tri-state and like the Connecticut. It's still hard, and there's still multiple buyers. But
yep,
I've found doing deals in Texas, and I've done deals all over the country, Phoenix, Vegas,
yep,
California. There's like fucking 300 wholesalers in like Dallas, like no
right,
fucking joke. And they're
yeah,
like doing deals. Like not all three of them are making $1 million a
yeah.
year, but there's real fucking crazy volume. So I found in the Northeast, you have a little bit less competition, but in exchange for attorneys, big down payments, fucking old properties. I'm sure you
Right,
know a lot about that.
right. That's where the old property thing is what gets us here because hedge funds won't come here because of that.
No,
So
yes.
that's what keeps them out is the inventory here is too old for them to. So that's where we get a little bit lucky is inventory is just too old for them, and they were in here. They were starting to move into Boston because Boston was appreciating real heavy. So I want to say maybe Open Door was in there or Zillow offers, whatever the fuck they were in towards Boston. But I never really considered them a threat just because of like, dude, I probably done deals in like hundreds and hundreds of towns. No joke. Like all over New Hampshire, all over Maine, all over Massachusetts. Like people like, how do you comp properties? Like I don't have a process, dude. I just know. Like this
Yeah,
is
it's so different. The inventory is it's not homogenous. So like you're comping a fucking 1890 build, and then across the street, I got new construction.
Yeah, 100%.
And
100%.
it's like, and that's the thing I like about our market is like, I just did a big land wholesale deal in Westchester, which is one of the most expensive areas in the country. I bought the dirt for 565 and a
Yep.
guy bought it off me for 630 because he's going to go
Yep.
ground up for 3 million.
Right.
And then the
Right.
neighbor's house is built in fucking 1910. It's
Right.
like, you don't know what to fucking do, you know?
Yeah. It's weird. It is because someone down south that does a ton of deals. I was asking me because he was doing stuff in Mobile and then he moved over to Atlanta market and they have
Oh,
more
I know who you're
townhouse
talking about.
houses.
His name starts
Yeah.
with an R. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how, I don't anyway. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't anyway.
We know who he is.
Yes. So and he was asking me. He says, "Oh, how do you comp? Like, there's more styles of houses in Atlanta. There's like two in where I'm from originally."
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Ranchers
like,
and fucking, that's it.
dude, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I don't got a sheet. I just like guys, if it's out of spec or something, they'll just come in my office and ask. Which isn't really how you grow a company, but
Yeah, I
whatever.
have the same problem. My acquisitions guy, I have to help him a lot because like
Yeah,
there's a lot of because sometimes he won't see something and then
yeah,
I'll be like, hey, like chill. That this is a fucking buy, even though it's old.
right.
Look at the new construction. Look at the lot. Like a lot of my market is like, what's the lot size? Like in
Yeah.
Boston, it's
Mm,
probably similar. What's the
yeah.
fucking lot size? Because a lot of these houses, you can pay more and someone will scrape it and go
Yeah.
new construction.
Yeah.
So it can get interesting. But the benefit to our market too that people don't realize is the fucking margins are huge. Some of them. I mean, you can make big rips up in the Northeast because of the ARVs around here are like 500 grand.
Yeah.
So, you can make 50 grand on a wholesale deal and it's not too unreasonable because there's just so much room if you get it at the right number. So, how do you guys determine? You guys are doing a lot of volume up there. How do you guys decide when you're going to novate, when you're going to flip it, when you're going to sign it? Like, how do you guys come up with that? Because that's
I
a
ha
problem we have.
it
We're
is.
not that simple. Like we're doing all
Yeah.
different fucking deals.
I worked on something about a year ago, and I know it now well enough mentally that I just know. But I worked on a calculator with someone that was a lot smarter than me, Rob Hyder out of St. Louis,
Oh
and
yeah, he's a good guy.
I worked with him for a long time, a lot of coaching, just one-on-one, and super like legit good guy that actually gives a fuck about you.
Yeah.
And he has a serious finance background, so he started to do like what we were able to lay it out for if it didn't make this, if it had to make like, so everything goes out to wholesale no matter what. So that is what it would come down to. So my guys would get paid even if I bought it, and not just a flat fee. So if they could have assigned it, we said, okay, listen, we got $40,000 for an assignment fee on the wholesale side, and because that's what some people are offering, or I could possibly make $100,000 if I buy it and rehab it, right?
Yeah.
And then I could super grand slam it and make $125,000, right? But that was like that was the anomaly, like really, like that probably wouldn't happen type of a situation, right?
Yeah.
So there's a number associated with it that because we figured out with the amount oh fucking A our
Cash conversion cycle.
cycle time
Yeah.
of wholesale cycle time and what it is for rehab cycle time. So it basically, for us to, because it's very easy to be distracted by that wholesale number. I mean, the rehab number saying,
Yeah, but you
well,
don't
take that
realize how long it
100,000.
takes to fucking do that and permits and all that shit.
So there was, with all those figures plugged in, we could see that it had to be I have to pull the sheet up because I always get it confused on the way I say it. I just mentally know how, in my head how to do it, but I don't know how to describe it. That it had to be at like 40%. There's some 40% number in my sheet that when I plug everything in there, like it still makes sense that to sell that at a $40,000 wholesale is what it comes
Yeah.
down to versus the $100,000 rehab, right? Like there's some kind of number there is what it comes down to is how I was able to figure out right now. On top of that, I am super fucking conservative because just the market in general. So CG has this whole big, Collective Genius has this whole big thing about protect, take chips off the table,
Take the cash.
take the cash right now.
Yeah.
So I am holding, I don't know, is maybe, I think last time I looked at QuickBooks yesterday, maybe there's a 1.5 million of property on the books right now,
Like
which,
active inventory you own to
yeah,
sell.
yeah. So there isn't much which isn't much in the Northeast, right? I'm not
Yeah, we're
holding.
doing that's like 4 houses max.
Yeah. Right,
Three.
right, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
we're doing the same thing. It's funny you said that because I look at and people are like, Greg, why would you wholesale this for 40 grand or 30 grand when we're doing a wholesale deal on Wednesday. We're gonna make 54,000 on it.
Yeah.
The guy's getting a fucking banging deal. And if
Oh
I
yeah.
knew this now, I may have taken it, but I got a partner on it. He brought me the deal. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm getting paid 50 grand or 54 grand now
Yeah.
on Wednesday. Or I can fuck around with a rehab in the winter with permits with
Right.
a fucking hoarder house and
Right.
probably make my money back in July when that sells.
Right.
People
Right.
don't realize that, like, when you have businesses like Joe's and I's where there's like overhead and shit, like money today is very valuable because I got to pay the sales guys. I got to pay the marketing bill. I got to
Yeah.
pay the fucking software bill. You have
Yeah.
rent, right? So people don't realize that bringing that, what is that? That cash. I didn't even know what the cash conversion cycle was until like a year and a half ago. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I never even thought of this. Cause that's where
Yeah.
a lot of investors get fucked is they rehab all these houses. They're not taking wholesale fees off the front to pay their team. And
Correct.
they might be making a lot of money in theory, but it's all going right out the door. And then the next time it closes, you get the point. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
no joke, man. It's no
Yeah.
fucking joke.
Yeah.
Smart.
If you were a construction company, you had a lot of liquidity to sit on, like where
Yeah.
it didn't matter, and you could say, okay, we had 40 houses and then we had a big bankroll, and you didn't need to turn that capital. Like you have to get so far ahead of that. Like it's just real tough for us as operators at the size businesses we run, or we're going and borrowing money to be able to,
Pay the
okay,
overhead.
yeah, right. Basically, we're gonna say, okay, listen, bank or construction business partner, whoever, give me 500 grand, 600 grand to cover the fucking overhead that I need so that we can build a construction department. And okay, yeah, we'll feed that construction department, but I don't really want to have a construction company.
No.
And
It fucks up, especially in our market with the
yeah,
fucking complex projects and I mean,
right.
it's the mass is the same. The townships with permits and
Yeah, yeah.
oh, dude, it gets bad.
Yeah, funny enough, in fucking New Hampshire, I have a stupid mobile home, and that it got given to me. And mobile homes here in New Hampshire and are like gold because there's zero affordable housing, and they got given to me, and I've like rehabbed this whole thing, and we over put in money on it, and rehabbed the whole thing, and the fucking building inspector is up my ass on this 1968 mobile home that was given to me. And I'm like, dude,
Insane.
are you kidding me?
It's
Like, go away, dude. Go away.
dude, it's so funny you say that. I was doing a wholesale last year and I didn't put a cent. Oh, I put maybe $500 into this thing.
Yep.
The seller put a dumpster in the driveway. I get a
Oh,
letter from the building department like the next day, and they're
yep.
like, stop work immediately. And I called them and I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
go in that fucking house. There's not a
Right.
single piece of construction happening,
Yep.
but these towns are on your ass. And it's
Yep.
like a lot of these towns are like small towns. So everyone
Yeah.
knows everyone, and the building
Yes.
department's neighbors with the seller.
Yep.
It can get dicey. So
Yep.
that's why I like wholesaling. So let's talk about novations real quick, and then we'll wrap the show up. So this is the term that everyone keeps using. Everyone, and they do work, and you can make money with
Yep.
them. In the Northeast, you have to do them a little bit differently. Like, for example, in New York, I don't know someone doing this, but I have never seen a seller sign a power of attorney document in New York because they have a fucking attorney.
Right.
So you have to. How do you guys do them in your area? Because it's different than what the people teach online when they're in Florida and whatnot.
Yeah, and we're part of that whole group, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a big name dropper. So I'm part of that group, right?
Yeah.
But I also brought in novation paperwork to them from way back from Blackstone, because Blackstone's been doing it for a long time. But bottom line here is it's more on we don't necessarily get the power of attorney as much nowadays with it because of how much brain damage is involved. Like we can do it. I've done it a few times where they really trust us, right? So
Yeah.
one couple was wanted to sell their house and they were moving to Canada, right? And they were on a timeline and all that, right? They'll give me power of attorney. I've gotten power of attorney granted to me, and I get what they teach and I get what they go after there. It's easier to get a power of attorney just for marketing purposes.
Yeah.
Like you're better off getting a power of attorney to be able to market it than a blanket POA. Anyone that has some skill about them in the Northeast, like I got two of them right now, and I got one on a $500,000 house and a $600,000 house. And usually those type of sellers are pretty sophisticated, and they're like, I'm not giving you a fucking POA, right? So now I just have them sign all the paperwork though, right? So that says they're gonna do and novate, they're gonna do what they say they're gonna do, right? So because in that agreement it says you're gonna sign the actual you're gonna sign novation paperwork, and we are going to make money.
Yeah.
So this year, I want to say so far revenue from novations I want to say net revenue would be like 300 so far on 300K, which
That's
is
good. That's found money though, bro. On leads you already got.
I agree, but it also takes a lot of company resources from that aren't necessarily on your P&L, right? Because you can't see the process that it takes. You can't see that, like I have a on staff transaction coordinator, right? You can't see how much of time we could, right? I could sit and track every hour that the TC works on that file, right? Of like all the in and out, back and forth paperwork, and my attorneys involved.
So much paperwork,
right? So and now, and it depends what you decide to do for work too, right? Because there's that whole pitch to the seller, oh, we'll do everything, right?
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. That they teach that pitch, right? Oh, we'll do everything, right? Or we'll pre-rehab it for you. Now we're not doing any of that stuff. We've done that a couple times, and someone
That gets dicey, bro.
dude,
Yeah.
that got dicey. I had the guy die. We were just about to sign the fucking agreement, the novation agreement. The dude died.
The
And
seller
then
died.
the seller died, dude. And
Oh
the
my God.
fucking son stepped in and he's like, whole big thing. And he was like, it is about, you're a construction company. I don't know what we would pay markup for, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, here we fucking go. I had to freaking never split the difference, this guy to the moon. So it's just, dude, there's just a lot there. So we've dialed back on what we'll do on the front nowadays. Like I'll clean it out, I'll send a cleaner and that type of stuff. But dude, uh we even looked at running a TV. Our original rock with our consultants for fourth quarter was, hey, let's kill it in Q1. We'll change our TV message to say, like, we'll fix it up, we'll, like, whatever the TV message was going to be, basically influx our novation deal flow.
Yeah.
And then I ran it by someone. They're like, Joe, like, cause this all sounds good in these quarterlies, and we have these consultants come in and like, rah, 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 the whole fucking executive team's like, yeah. And I ran it by and they're like, Joe, do you realize now you're going to have a longer cycle time? And now you need to have a bunch of construction overhead and a construction manager, which we have one, but he's already capped out on just the houses that we do already. So it's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking anything. I'm not knocking it. What I do knock is, and they've gotten better about saying it more and more now, thankfully, is the brain damage involved. And they've been saying it in the group about guys like, stop fucking drinking the Kool-Aid, that because you can fuck up people's lives too, man. Like it's not just like, oh, you're wholesaling a vacant house and dude, you're not in a whole lot of hot water if you don't
it's like a junker
wholesale
and
it,
it's
dude.
yeah.
Like right now, I got a fucking house that people moved out of already. $600,000 house. They're fucking heating it. They already bought another house. They're living in that. And then the other one we're doing, they're moving to Florida. They're packing their shit up.
Yeah.
Moving to Florida. Like, dude, you better get, man, there's, if you don't give a fuck about your reputation, okay, fine. But like, I'm on TV here. Not that I'm some like superstar, but people do know who we are, and I can't fuck that up.
That's what people, and I'm glad they're getting that message out, because you really, with innovation, it is a great tool. It's like you got to know how to use it. But there's a lot of things that are out of your control that could fuck a deal up, right? A mortgage, an inspection, an appraisal. So you just gotta. I've noticed with novations, when we do them, we just tell the seller so fucking transparently what our intentions are.
Oh yeah.
And that's what you usually get. They're like, I get it. I get it. That makes sense. But some people, they don't do that. Oh, yeah, it's a done deal. Oh, don't worry if it's wait 20 days. Fuck no. Not in our market. You're going to get fucking chastised.
No. My big sell to the sellers is, listen, you got me and my company, and I'm going to bash the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, the appraisal, the home inspector, all those things that I normally do, that I spent years doing for my own rehabs. That's the power that you get.
Yes.
Is you get my experience and my company's experience to be able to tell all these vendors that got their fucking hands out to fuck off, basically, is what it comes down to, right? That's the power of it. And if you don't have that experience, I struggle at how much value you bring to a seller in that situation.
Yeah, when you don't even know. Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know how to deal with a home. You know how to deal with that. Like, I own the brokerage and I own the agents, right? So it's easy for me as a listing person to be, okay, this is the offer that you guys need to be working on, right? And you're just going to take an offer because it looks like money on the table. Well, can they close? Did you call the fucking mortgage company? Did they actually run the mortgage? Because right now everyone's getting pre-approvals, but they actually can't close on the fucking loan. They didn't run it all the way through, or they don't run that mortgage check till a week before fucking close. And now, right? So you don't know how to push on those things and check all those things, or you can really fuck someone's life up, you know? So
yeah, you got to know what I couldn't agree more, dude, especially if you're new, you should partner up with someone like Joe if you're in that market to JV those deals, because there's a lot of value and experience. We've done a lot of deals this year, just JVing with new people.
yep.
And people are like, oh, they're giving half the profit up. I'm like, motherfucker, I've done like all these deals and they bring me the deal on us and we get the whole thing done. I sell it for top dollar.
Yep.
There's no fucking, they watch me do the whole thing.
Yep.
There's real value in that, and,
Yeah.
especially some of these deals with like title issues. They're like, what do we do? I'm like, oh, I've done dozens of these. This is exactly
Yep.
what you do. This is the
Yep.
process for that. But yeah, man, you got to know what you're doing. That's the key. You got to get your reps in. You got to work with the experienced people. So, Joe, man, you got a great story. You got a great business now. You guys are fucking dominating up there. It's awesome to see your story, get to know you on a little bit more of a deeper level.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a popular episode with the listeners. So if people want to get in touch with you, maybe they're up in the Northeast or in New Hampshire, Mass, they want to collaborate with you, maybe do some deals, whatever, reach out to you. How do people get in touch with you?
I'm one of those cynical fucks in Northeast. Like, you can't talk to me. You can't close me. Fuck off. No,
Yeah, right.
I'm on Facebook, dude. You just look me up. That's probably the biggest, easiest way, there. Joe at ipscash.com. The emails are meh. Cell phone, just text me. If you're up here, 603-558-8604. Shoot me a text. It's probably like the best way. If you really want to get in touch with me, Facebook or my cell phone.
There you go. We got it on there. We'll put that in the notes, man. Well, I appreciate your time. That was a fun episode, and we'll catch you soon, bro.
Sweet. Thanks, Greg.